Hi folks, welcome back to another video. What we're going to be doing in today's video is a little bit of OnShape exercises based on two boats questions from the orthographic chapter. Okay, one is actually from the old textbook. I'll just show it to you here. That's going to be the one we're starting off with. It's this one here from the Understanding Technical Graphics textbook. And then the other one we're going to do is from the current World of Graphics textbook that we're using in class. Okay, two different types of boards questions, but they're kind of going to teach us some different kind of skills. So we're going to be starting off, as I said, with this guy right here. Okay, so if you open up your OnShape, I kind of have a title here already saying model boats. I'm just going to move this guy over here a second because I'll need to put in another one in a while. And I'm going to start off by just looking at the question we have to model. So looking at the boat here, I can see it's kind of made up of two structures. It's got the base and obviously the top bit. The base in yellow, the top bit in red. Now, starting with the base, I'm going to build it from the ground up. You have to select appropriate, I suppose, an appropriate plane to do your sketches on before you actually make it 3D. So looking in the direction of arrow A, I could draw a rectangle there and then extrude it and possibly cut away the triangle sections. Arrow B, you could as well, kind of going along the same process. But in the direction of the plan view, looking down on top of it, that's actually probably the most appropriate plane to draw on, because we can draw it in one go and do it using one step, okay, rather than actually doing extrudes and then cutting away or removing parts. So we're going to start there by drawing on the top plane. Notice the length of it is 140, and the length from here to here is 105. And then at the front here, okay, in the direction of our B, it's got kind of a depth of 50 and then 25 into the center. So going to note all of those. So starting here now, I'm going to turn off my front plane. I'm going to turn off my right plane. The plane I want to sketch on is the front one or the top one. So select the top surface, select sketch. Now what I'm going to do is it's all the tools are active to me in the top. I'm going to select the top plane. So I'm looking nice and straight at it. And what I want to do is I want to select the line tool. So I'm going to start off by selecting the line tool. And I'm actually going to show you a new tool today. It's called the construction tool. You'll see it right here. Okay. I'm going to select that as well. So once I select that, notice how the two of them are highlighted blue. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is starting on the origin, I'm going to start here, click, drag out, and notice how the line is actually a hatched line. Okay. I'll turn off my line there now. Okay, you can press escape in your keyboard to do that, or alternatively you can right click and click on escape line. But this line here is a hatched line. The reason it came in as hatched is because I activated construction. Okay, very, very helpful there. So what we're going to do now is we're going to put on a dimension on that line. So I'll click on my dimension, click on the line, drag down. I want that line to be 140 millimeters. Okay, you can see it's kind of gone off screen there. Bring it back into the center by selecting top. Now it's 140 long. What I want to do is I want to actually build half the boat. Okay, so you'll see what I'm going to do here. I'm going to select line. This time, do not select construction. I'm going to start here on my origin. Click, drag down. Make sure it's vertical. Click. I'm going to drag across until it comes to about here. Click. And then I'm going to drag until it comes here to the top point. Click. Now, you can see there, it's like I've built half of the boat. Okay, obviously I could do it on the other side, but you'll see here in a second what I'm going to do. So I'm going to start off by dimensioning half of it. So click on the dimension. This portion here is 25. This line here is 105. And notice how it's gone from blue to black, fully defined. Now, instead of actually redrawing all of that and putting the dimensions in again, I can use a handy little tool here called mirror. There it is, mirror. So when I select that, notice how what it's actually it's telling me to do is select a mirror line. Okay, so what we're actually going to do is here, it's called axial symmetry. This line here that I put in at the start, this kind of hatch line, or sorry, this dash line, I'm going to select that as my mirror line. So select that. Notice how now it's saying select entities to be mirrored. So it's telling me select the things I want to copy over that line. So I'm going to select this line. Notice how it's coming in on the opposite side. This one, and then finally this one. And there's our sketch complete. Okay. Now, I could have sketched it like that from the start, okay, but you'll see in a while why I actually did it that way with the center line here in the middle, okay? So now that that's done, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to go into a 3D view, select this guy here, and with that sketch done, I'm going to extrude that up. So select my extrude icon, and I'm going to extrude it up by 15 millimeters, okay, and click on the green arrow. The reason I did 15 there is because if you go back here, the height of the yellow section is 15 millimeters. So now the next portion we have to do is this kind of orangish reddish section here. So looking in the direction of arrow A, which would be in the direction of the front plane or the elevation, that's probably the best one to draw in that outline there. Okay, I could do it obviously from the other views, but you'd be doing it in such a way where you'd be kind of having to cut and so forth afterwards. Whereas in the direction of arrow A, I can probably do it in one step by drawing it and then extruding it. So I'm going to note some measurements there. 10, I think the height of it overall then is, I think it's 35, just checking that there. Yeah, it's 35, 10, 10, 10. Sorry, it's 30. There we go. I can see it there. It was hard to see. Okay, so just noting some of those dimensions. So I'm going to go back in here, and I'm actually going to turn off my top plane now. And I just have the model there. Now, what I'm actually going to do is I have to draw on the front plane. So I'm actually going to turn him on again, just again there, so you can see it. Now notice how the front plane is actually going through the middle of our object. If I go here, you can see the front plane is actually in the middle of our object. So see, I'm after selecting it there, it's in orange. It's going right through the middle of the object. That's the reason why at the very start when I did my sketch, if you remember, if I select the sketch, do you remember this center line? This center line is actually in line with the front plane. And you'll see why I actually wanted it there in a minute, okay? So this plane I want to sketch on, I said, was the front plane. So I'm going to actually select the front plane and select sketch. Okay, you can see it here, sketch 2 boxes after coming in. So what I'm actually going to do is select the front here now. And to start off with, I'm actually going to select a line again. And once again, select construction. Okay. So I'm going to come down here to the very bottom. Roughly not on the origin, but it may be in like a little bit there. You can see it here. And starting on the bottom, I'm going to click once. I'm going to drag up and click again. Now, I'm going to escape that line, right click, then left click on escape line. That'll do it. Or alternatively, you can just press escape on your keyboard. And that line there that I just did, the reason I drew it is because I wasn't able to start. If I select line, you can see here, I actually can't draw a line kind of right on the line there where I want to start. So kind of funny how that happens, but I'm going to go into dimension. And now what I'm going to do is click on this line, drag out. I want that to be 15. Now I have a point to start with right here, which is going to be helpful to me. Right in there in the middle, you can see it. Okay, so using that point, I'm going to go back to my line tool. This time, not construction. I'm not going to use that. I'm going to start drawing the rough outline. Click here, drag up, click, drag out, click, down, kind of at an angle. Then it goes down here another bit. Then it's going to go down here and bring it back home to here. Now, there's my outline. Going to 3D, you can see it there. Okay, there's the outline. It's right in the middle, which is going to be really helpful to me in a minute. And I'm going to select front again, and I'm going to start by dimensioning it. So the first thing I'm going to do is the dimension from between 2 points. I'm going to dimension from this point to this point. That dimension is exactly 10. Now I'm going to dimension between this point and this point. Select the point, then select this point. You can see here it can give me different dimensions. I can do the line, I can do the height. But what I want is I want that kind of horizontal distance there, or the length distance. That is also 10. Okay, the overall height of it from here, select the line is 30. Okay, now I'm at the right height. The next height I want is this one. Select this point, and I want the height between the two of those. So just make sure you don't drag out here like this. You want the height between them, okay? The vertical height. Click. I want that to be 10. Now the next height I want the difference between is this one and this one. Once again, drag into the correct position. I want this to be 10. And then finally, the last one is 10 between this point here and this point here, because I've already told it at the very start that the overall height is 30. Okay, just bring that in there, making it look neat and tidy. You don't have to. Now you can see here it's not fully defined yet because I got some blue lines still left, so I need to put some dimensions on those. So I'm going to go back to my model there, And the portion here you can see at the top is 40 millimeters, and then it's 5, 35, and 10. So 40, 5, and 35. Okay, so this line here is 40 millimeters long. The distance between this point and this point is 5. And then finally, the distance between this point and this point over here is 35. And then finally, I think the last one between this one and this one, trying to be sure, I think it's 10. Let's go back and check that. Yeah, it's 10. And there we have it. There's our sketch fully defined. It's gone from blue to black. Now what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to extrude. I'll turn off my front plane there just to make it a little bit neater. And I'm actually going to extrude it now. So I'll just show you there. So you can see here what's going to happen now. When I select my extrude icon, okay, I'll actually show you a little trick you can do. If I clicked on the green arrow here, you can see the sketch has kind of gone grey. Now don't worry about that, but to get back into that, if you double click on sketch 2 over here, you can see anything I've done is in this area here. It's your design tree. If I double click that, the sketch becomes active again. Okay, so I'm going to go up here to my extrude icon, select that, and notice how that has happened there. Now I don't want that to happen. If we look at our model, okay, I'm after modeling in the middle. I'd like it to kind of go both ways. So there's a new little trick we're going to learn here in this kind of area. So you can see here, the distance, first of all, I'm actually going to change that to 30, okay, because that is actually the width of it all together, okay, 30 up here. But what I'm going to do is, where it says blind, I'm actually going to click on the down arrow there, and what I'm going to do is, I'm actually going to say, I think it's up to, no, apologies, up to face, up to part, up to vertex. Face, up to part, up to part. Blind. Oh, apologies. Blind and then symmetric. I'm getting mixed up with my SolidWorks there for a second. I was just wondering. So select blind, that's what it is. In SolidWorks, it would be mid-plane, but in OnShape, you select blind and then you select symmetrical. And what that's going to allow us to do is we're going to go 15 millimeters this way, 15 this way, but essentially 30 overall. And there we have it. Select the green arrow and we're done. Model complete. Very first model done. Okay. So now what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to go down here. I'm going to select this little plus icon. And then I'm going to click on Create Part Studio. And I'm going to actually start, if you see here, I can toggle back between them. Okay. I'm going to start a new model in here based on this guy right here. Okay. Now there's a couple of ways, once again, elevation in the direction of arrow A, end elevation in the direction of arrow C, and a plan from the direction of arrow B above. A couple of ways you could actually model it here. I'm trying to think here now, looking in the direction of arrow A, it probably makes the most sense because we still are going to have to do cuts either way, either cuts in the direction of arrow A, okay, or sorry, in the direction of arrow A here for the triangles, or cuts in the direction of arrow B when I'm looking down top of it for this little section here. So there's a couple of ways you could do it. I'm actually going to start modeling by using arrow A, okay? So looking at the overall length of it, it's 25 plus 20 plus 20 is 65. 65 plus 5 is 70. 70 plus 90 is 160. And 160 plus 20 plus 20 is 200 long, okay? It has a height of 40, okay? And then there's various sections here where I'm going to obviously have to put in the measurements. So I'm going to start modeling on the front plane, and I'm going to draw in this bottom section here starting off. Okay, so looking here now, go back into my model. So I'm going to start off by deselecting the top plane and deselecting the right plane. Select front and select sketch. So looking straight at it, selecting the front plane, I'm going to come over here to my line tool. And what I'm actually going to do is, starting here, I'm going to roughly draw. Now I know it kind of comes down here, then it goes across, then it's going to go back up. I'll zoom in. Just make sure I'm at the exact same height as this guy. You can see I can map over to it. Going across. Now I want it to be the same depth as this guy. So bring it across. You can see there I kind of map onto it. Same height. Back over the origin. And there we go. Okay, so there's the rough shape of it. Put in a few dimensions now. Starting off with this one here. This is 200. Okay. This guy here is 40 millimeters. And one other one I do know is the height between here and here, which is 20 millimeters. So, okay, and you can see because I gave this a relation with this one has dropped down as well. Now I'm going to go back to my drawing just to see some of the other measurements. So I have a length here is 20, 20, and then look in here, 20, 20, 95, 20, and 20. Okay, 20, 20, 95, 20. Okay. So, starting with this guy, he is 20. This guy is also 20. Then I have a distance here of 95. And then finally, this guy is 20. There we go, fully defined. Okay, there's my sketch. Going to just put it into 3D. And what I'm actually going to do now is I'm going to just check here the depth of it. So I have to extrude it by a distance of 50. Okay, now once again, I'm actually going to use symmetrical like I did previously. And I'll explain why is because if you look at this section here, this is right in the middle. Okay, there's a certain gap here. I think it's 10 and 10 either side. And to be able to do that neatly, I want the front plane in the middle of my object. So, going back into my model, I'm actually going to select my extrude icon. And you'll see here, it's coming off the front plane. I'm going to change the distance to 50. But instead of it coming off the front plane, I want it to be in between the front plane, symmetrical. You can see it's gone between the two of them. So I'm going to select the green arrow there. There's that done. Okay, I'll deselect my front plane now, just for a minute. And what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to create the kind of nose at the front of it. So a couple of ways you could do that. I'm going to select this surface here to draw on and select sketch. Look at the top of it. And straight away, I'm going to draw in a triangle. So selecting my line tool, I'm going to come into the middle. And there we go. Back here to the corner. Okay, there's that. Now I could at this point as well do another one over here. Okay, but what I'm actually going to do, I will draw it in. Just draw it in very, very quickly. Want that to map to the same point. Okay, and what I'm actually going to do is this guy here. Now, as you can see, there's the two little triangles. So I'm going to go to extrude. Instead of adding them on, I'm going to remove. And what I'm going to say is, instead of blind, I'll say through all. And what that does is, you can see there, if I just said blind, you can see it's only gone down halfway. But by changing it to through all, that's another way it'll go through everything. Or I could have dragged down the arrow. Except the green arrow. There we have it. Bottom portion of our little boat done. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go on to the next portion of the boat, which is this little bit here. Okay, this kind of, suppose, little triangular and square section here. So a square and a triangle joined together. And it's going to be looking at the distance there, 45 and 30, starting at the front. So that's 75 starting here. Okay, and it's a height of 30. So just remember that. And then we'll put on the circle on top. So, going back in here, I'm actually going to select, not this surface to draw on, not going to select that. I'm going to turn on my front plane. And if you remember, the front plane is in the middle, and I wanted it in the middle. So I'm going to select front, and I'm going to select sketch. Okay, go into my front view, and I'm going to go to my line tool, and hopefully, no, same thing as last time. I'm going to select construction. Okay, and from the bottom, around here roughly, shape line, and I'm going to smart dimension that line. Now it's going to be a certain distance away from the origin. So that distance right there, as far as I know, it's 20, 20, and 95 will be 135. And then the height of it is 40. That will get me exactly into the right position there, okay, where I want to start. So going back to the front, select my line tool, I'm going to start my sketch. Go to Smart Dimension. This bit here is 75. This bit here is 30. And then I just actually have to go back and check here now. It's 45. Okay. And then the distance from here to here, put it up there, is 45. There we have it. Okay. There's our structure. I'm now once again going to extrude that. This time I'm extruding it by 30 millimeters. And once again, I want it to be symmetrical. You can see there, it's after jumping into the middle, except the green arrow. There's our second portion done. And what I'm going to do now is on my front plane, I'll turn that off. And you can see here, all we have left to actually put in there, there's the model, is the little chimney on top, which has a radius of 10 and it's right in the middle. Okay, so to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this surface. A couple of ways you could do it. You could do a revolve. I think these ways to do is just a circle. So select the surface, select sketch. Now what I want to do is I want to find the middle of that. And you can see here we can't exactly find the middle. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to select my line tool and select construction. By doing that, what it's going to let me do is if I start here right in the middle, you can see the middle of this line, click and click down to here. Escape your line. Now inside in here, I should be able to find the middle of this construction line. So if I highlight the circle, center point circle, and there we have it, there's the middle, select on that, drag out, click, and I'm going to put a dimension on that, radius 10, diameter 20, there's my circle, okay, go back to my drawing, it comes up a height of 20 millimeters, once again, extrude, no symmetrical here, instead of 25, I want that to be 20, green arrow, done. Okay, notice how all your design tree is after getting bigger here because the more parts we build onto it, okay, and the more steps we take, it's going to get a lot bigger here in your design tree. You can see this one, there was more parts in it in comparison to this one down here, okay, where we only did two sketches and 2 extrudes. In this one, we had 1, 2, 3, 4 sketches and a couple of extrudes, okay. So there's the 2 ships done, guys, from the 2 videos. Hope you get on okay with them, and that is the video done.